Every empire ever built began with one person taking full responsibility, not for the world, not for a nation, but for their own life. Riches, true, lasting riches, do not start in your wallet, they start in your will. The moment you stop waiting for someone to save you, fix you, or lead you, that is the moment you become the CEO of your life. And from that moment on, your destiny is no longer a matter of chance. It becomes a matter of choice. Friends, champions of every hidden desire, gather now in the theater of your own imagination, for it is there that destinies are drafted, riches conceived, and triumphs rehearsed long before the world bears witness to them. As surely as the most imposing skyscraper once existed only as graphite etchings across an architect's page, so too does every fortune. Material, emotional, spiritual, spring first from the slender thread of personal responsibility. Riches begin with responsibility, and responsibility begins with you. Picture, if you will, a boardroom grander than any corporate palace on Wall Street. Its gleaming table stretches to the far horizon of possibility, polished by the labor of every dream you have ever dared entertain. At the head of that table sits no external executive, no distant magnate in a tailored suit. The seat is reserved exclusively for the one individual with the rightful authority to chart the enterprise of your existence, you, the chief executive officer of your life. The gavel of decision rests within your grasp, and its echo reverberates through every department of your being. Thought, emotion, habit, and action. The very first motion on the agenda is to acknowledge that wealth, in all its forms, does not drift into idle hands on the breeze of chance. Wealth is summoned, magnetized, irresistibly drawn by the deliberate focus of an organized mind. Assume, then, the mantle of leadership over your thoughts. Each idea that arrives unannounced is a junior associate knocking timidly at the door of your consciousness. You have full authority to grant it entry, assign it a task, or dismiss it from service. Let no destructive notion linger in the corridors of your mental headquarters, for a single undisciplined thought can sabotage a decade of progress. Issue a directive, therefore, that only constructive, harmonious, life-affirming thoughts shall receive security badges to roam the halls of your imagination. Write your chief aim upon the parchment of your heart with ink drawn from unshakable faith. Speak it aloud daily until its melody echoes even in your silent moments. Fix it upon the mind's eye so vividly that the universe itself mistakes vision for fact and hastens to amend reality accordingly. The world yields, inexorably, to the individual possessed by a definiteness of purpose, backed by indefatigable action, because such an individual radiates conviction that brooks no interference. Summon the executive committee of your faculties, reason, intuition, memory, imagination, and will, and convene a daily strategy session. Begin each morning with a review of your objectives, not in a spirit of anxious duty, but with the exhilaration of a commander surveying boundless territory ripe for conquest. Close your eyes and feel the thrill of responsible dominion. Declare, I am accountable for the thoughts I harvest, the words I speak, the habits I weave, and the results that manifest. Responsibility is not a burden but a throne, and upon that throne sits the potential for influence beyond calculation. You need not await unanimous approval from society before launching the enterprise of your potential. Stockholders in the gallery of popular opinion will forever waver. Dividends of praise fluctuate with the fickle moods of the crowd. Cast the sole decisive vote yourself. Authorize the project called your grandest self and break ground this very hour. Sign the charter that empowers you to explore new markets of capability, acquire subsidiaries of skill, and release quarterly statements of character so compelling that the marketplace of opportunity competes for your presence. Consider adversity a crucial department within your conglomerate. Challenges are the uncompromising auditors who inspect your ledgers and demand proof of genuine commitment. When obstacles arise, do not file for emotional bankruptcy. Instead, convene a special meeting of resilience and innovation. Ask, what lesson does this difficulty conceal? How may this setback be transmuted into an asset? The world pays extraordinary dividends to those who can convert temporary defeat into enduring mastery. Install a research and development division within your mind that never ceases experimentation. Conduct bold trials of new habits, daring goals, and expanded alliances. Record results with candor, learn from every outcome, and reinvest lessons back into the corporate treasury of wisdom. A single progressive idea, nurtured with persistence, can eclipse a lifetime of conventional labor. Appoint persistence as Chief Operating Officer. Persistence is the hand that turns the wheel when every lesser resolve has spun itself into exhaustion. Like a relentless tide sculpting stone into archways, persistence carves channels through which riches flow. Drill this principle into every layer of your organization. Progress favors those who move forward when the novelty of inspiration has faded and only disciplined desire remains awake in the dim hours before dawn. Recruit a mastermind alliance, a consortium of minds aligned in mutual elevation. Select associates not merely for camaraderie, but for complementary strength. Convene regularly to exchange insights, amplify enthusiasm, and hold one another accountable to standards loftier than society's comfortable mediocrity. A lone match offers light. A bundle ignites a blaze visible for miles. Imagine what you will achieve when your ideas strike sparks against equally driven intellects and burst into flames of collective genius. Protect the corporate culture of your subconscious. Every suggestion repeated with emotional intensity permeates the silent chambers below reason and becomes an automatic directive. Feed your inner boardroom a steady diet of empowering affirmations. Review your victories, however small, until confidence becomes habitual. Vigilantly audit media, conversations, and environments. Expel any influence that tarnishes the brand of your self-concept. You are the guardian of your mental trademark, and anything that dilutes its value must be denied shelf space in the storeroom of your attention. Implement a policy of action bias. In the commercial realm, plans without execution gather dust in filing cabinets. Do dreams shrivel when postponed behind excuses? At the close of every vision session, dictate at least one concrete step to be taken immediately. Momentum is a negotiator with remarkable leverage. Once set in motion, it bargains with time on your behalf, compounding effort into exponential yield. Introduce gratitude as Chief Communications Officer, dispatching daily memoranda of appreciation to every department of life. Gratitude heightens awareness of assets already under your management and attracts alliances eager to contribute further value. Speak sincere thanks to the opportunities that greet you, to the lessons cloaked as difficulties, and to the mentors, seen and unseen, who illuminate the path. The grateful heart broadcasts a frequency that resonates with abundance, drawing resources whose existence might remain invisible to the indifferent mind. Balance sheets of wealth are measured not solely in currency but in vitality, harmony, and service. Allocate resources to health, for the most promising enterprise falters when its leader is chronically fatigued. Authorize regular dividends of rest, nutrition, and movement. A vibrant body is the powerhouse that supplies to the executive suite of your intellect. Institute corporate social responsibility within your personal empire. Render service beyond contractual obligation, not for applause, but for the intrinsic joy of enlarging the lives of others. Each act of generosity deposits goodwill into an account that accrues compound interest in forms both tangible and mysterious. The marketplace may tally profits in digits, yet the true ledger of legacy is etched upon hearts uplifted by your contribution. Respect the law of compensation, For every effect there is a cause, and for every harvest a prior sowing. Inspect the seeds you scatter in moments of hurry or frustration, for they will sprout in fields you must one day traverse. Plant seeds of encouragement, perseverance, and intelligent curiosity. Cultivate them with steady action, and the blossoms of success will perfume the very air you breathe. When fear attempts a hostile takeover, address it as a temporary consultant, not a permanent partner. Invite fear to present its data, review its concerns, and then dismiss the meeting. Replace speculation with investigation. Examine precisely what resources you possess, what skills you can acquire, and what allies you can enlist. The antidote to vague dread is specific strategy. Draft that strategy with ink of clarity and sign it with determination. Schedule regular profit reviews of progress, but measure growth across multiple columns: knowledge gained, habits strengthened, networks expanded, character refined. A narrow focus on outward figures alone may tempt short-sighted maneuvers that erode integrity. Safeguard the intangible assets of honesty, empathy, and credibility. They are priceless valuations that invite partnerships money cannot purchase. Instruct your habit, forming division to automate excellence. Habits are the employees who clock in even when motivation calls in sick. Design morning rituals that fortify mindset, midday routines that sharpen productivity, and evening practices that reinforce learning. Document these processes, refine them, and soon the machinery of achievement will hum with effortless precision, freeing your creative board to envision ever grander enterprises. Forecast bold acquisitions of skill. Decide which abilities, if mastered, would multiply your influence most significantly, and pursue them with the zeal of a startup finalist racing against the close of funding round. Invest in mentors, courses, and deliberate practice. The marketplace extends premium valuations to leaders whose expertise bridges disciplines and whose adaptability outpaces industry shifts. File away any grievance that clutters corporate morale, for resentment is a toxic liability accruing hidden interest. Release it with a stroke of forgiveness, and reallocate that emotional capital to innovation and collaboration. Lightening the balance sheet of bitterness liberates energy previously sequestered in unproductive rumination. Prepare vision statements so vivid they command the senses. Smell the polished wood of your future office. Feel the handshake of partnerships yet to be negotiated. Hear the applause of lives transformed by your enterprise. Create mental prototypes with details so precise that, when opportunity arrives, recognition is instantaneous and decisive action follows without hesitation. Maintain a contingency fund of optimism. Economic storms may rattle windows and ruffle balance sheets, yet optimism, grounded in strategy, fortifies the corporate headquarters against panic layoffs of ambition. It empowers you to retain bold projects on the ledger while competitors forfeit theirs to fear. When circumstances contract, an optimistic leader widens perspective and identifies channels unseen by those peering through narrow windows of despair. Institute lifelong dividends of continuous education, for the most profitable stock you will ever purchase is a share in your own development. Read voraciously, attend conferences, and engage in dialogue with thinkers who challenge your assumptions. Knowledge is raw material. Wisdom is knowledge refined in the furnace of application. Temper each lesson by testing it in the crucible of experience, and then document the breakthrough so others may benefit. Regard time as the non-negotiable currency of existence. Implement an auditing system that tracks expenditures of minutes as carefully as a treasurer monitors dollars. Eliminate energy leaks disguised as trivial pursuits. Redirect those liberated minutes into projects aligned with your master objective, and compound returns will accrue in startling fashion. Engage imagination as head of marketing. Let it craft narratives so compelling that your subconscious rallies every faculty to their fulfillment. Use evocative language. I am. I command. I launch. Statements that imprint authority upon neural pathways. Imagination paints billboards on the superhighway of the mind, guiding every passing thought toward your envisioned destination. Employ silence as an internal coach. In moments of stillness, insights emerge that the commotion of routine drowns out. Schedule solitary retreats, even brief ones, where the only agenda item is to listen inwardly. Within those hushed halls, you will uncover strategies tailored uniquely to your gifts and circumstances, blueprints no textbook has yet published. Adopt decisiveness as standard operating procedure. Hesitation is a costly overhead, draining morale and inviting competitors, whether external rivals or internal doubts, to annex territory unguarded by conviction. Evaluate facts promptly, consult trusted advisors, and render verdicts. Once a course is chosen, rally every department to action so unified that uncertainty flees the premises. Institute rigorous quality control over speech. Words are verbal contracts. Once issued, they bind perception and influence outcomes. Speak as one whose declarations shape markets and mold destinies. Abolish phrases of defeat from company vernacular. Banish, I can't, if only, and someday. Replace them with, I will, I choose, and right now. Listen to the echo of those phrases across the corridors of your future, and hear doors swing open in response. Catalog victories in a portfolio of proof. Review it whenever market turbulence tempts doubt. Each past triumph is a stock certificate of competence. Its dividends are confidence and momentum. By referencing this portfolio, you remind your executive mind that previous risks bore fruit, and current challenges are but new opportunities wearing unfamiliar attire. Reinvest profits of success into ventures of higher service. Wealth that stagnates in vaults atrophies in value. Wealth that circulates through purposeful channels multiplies impact and nourishes communities. Allocate a portion of every gain, financial, intellectual, emotional, toward contributions that elevate collective prosperity. In doing so, you underwrite a brand reputation that magnetizes partnership and perpetuates abundance. Draft a security plan to protect your data of belief from hacking attempts by cynicism. Maintain strong passwords of conviction, two-factor authentication of reason and emotion, and antivirus protocols of daily affirmation. Vigilance preserves the integrity of your operating system, ensuring smooth execution of success programs. Adopt metrics that quantify the intangible. Track enthusiasm levels, gratitude frequency, and consistency of self-discipline. Chart them as earnestly as one monitors revenue and expenses. For what is outward gain if internal states glide unnoticed into deficit? A leader aware of inner economics is equipped to avert crises before they manifest externally. Engineer prototypes of tomorrow's self. Run simulations in the laboratory of visualization. How does the next version of you rise when the alarm sounds? With what posture does that you enter negotiations? What daily rituals sustain that elevation? Test these scripts until their execution becomes muscle memory. Mandate a policy of relentless clarity in communication with yourself and others. Ambiguity breeds misallocation of resources and frustration. Clarify expectations, deadlines, and desired outcomes. An organization steered by lucid directives moves with cohesive force, like a fleet of ships sailing toward a shared horizon. Upgrade the firmware of belief systems regularly. Outdated paradigms can crash the most ambitious initiatives. Evaluate assumptions which serve present goals, which echo obsolete contexts. Patch vulnerabilities with new evidence, fresh experience, and expanded perspective. Facilitate cross-training between departments of head and heart. Logic without passion lacks propulsion. Passion without structure drifts without compass. When intellect and emotion collaborate, They generate synergy that propels the enterprise of self far beyond the arithmetic sum of its parts. Establish an after-action review framework. At day's end, examine what went well, what faltered, and what process adjustments are necessary. Approach this not as self-criticism, but as professional refinement. Leaders of thriving enterprises cherish feedback loops, for therein lies the engine of perpetual improvement. Negotiate partnerships with habits of leisure that rejuvenate creativity. Schedule interludes of music, nature, and laughter. Such alliances pay royalties in renewed focus and innovative spark. Even the most formidable titans of industry pause to oil the gears of genius with moments of joy. Chart a public relations campaign of kindness. A single gesture of authentic kindness can penetrate defenses where logic alone stalls. Reputation built on sincere respect for humanity becomes an asset unrivaled in its ability to open doors across cultures and industries. Issue press releases through consistent action rather than empty slogans. Design exit strategies for limiting behaviors. Identify the triggers, replace them with empowering alternatives, and draft contingency plans for high-stress scenarios. By pre-negotiating these terms, you avert hostile mergers between impulse and opportunity for error. Train the legal department of conscience to prosecute excuses with surgical precision. Arguments such as, "I lack resources," or "others stand in my way," disintegrate under cross-examination that reveals creativity, alliances, and tenacity as admissible evidence. Render a verdict of self-accountability and sentence excuses to lifelong exile. Inaugurate traditions that celebrate incremental progress. Host mini-ceremonies at milestones often dismissed as too small for fanfare. These acknowledgments boost morale and cultivate a culture where achievement, however modest, is recognized as vital proof of upward trajectory. Issue performance bonuses to courage. Each instance where you speak an idea, request an opportunity, or challenge an outdated practice, reward that decision internally with admiration. Courage thrives on positive reinforcement and, once nourished, it rallies to even greater feats. Audit the supply chain of information entering your life. Source your knowledge from credentialed wells of experience, unbiased data, and timeless wisdom. Reject counterfeit insights peddled by rumor or cynicism. A professional operation relies on quality input to generate quality output. Draft contingency budgets for emotional volatility. Life will invoice you with surprise events, but a surplus of poise and adaptive thought can settle those bills without draining your core reserves. Build poise through meditation, adaptive thought through scenario planning, both through consistent practice. Assign an innovation incubator for bold but untested ideas. Allocate time and resources for prototypes. Many will fail swiftly, saving you costlier failure at full scale. Some will reveal lucrative pathways previously invisible. This is research and development for your destiny. Refresh your mission statement as you ascend new plateaus. Objectives that once challenged you may shrink to routine as capability expands. Revise targets upward so that growth remains a constant clause in your operational charter. Maintain diplomatic relations between mind and body. When intellect issues directives that tax physical limits, body negotiates for recovery. Unity between these departments ensures sustained productivity. Ignoring either faction invites rebellion in the form of burnout or stagnation. Fund artistic residencies within your organization of self. Music, painting, writing. Creative cross-pollination infuses original perspectives into strategic planning. Genius often arrives disguised as art. Establish import tariffs on negativity. Any thought, conversation, or media must demonstrate constructive value before passing customs into your mental marketplace. Negative inputs lacking redeeming insight are detained and returned to sender. Adopt continuous beta mindset. Every process, product, and skill remains open to iteration. Release version updates frequently, incorporating feedback and advancing features. Perfection is not a static endpoint, but an evolving pursuit. Conduct competitor analysis on comfort zones. Examine their defensive fortifications, identify weak points, and plan strategic expansion beyond their borders. Comfort zones guard against growth. Your mission is to annex fresh territories of competence. Forge arbitration panels for conflicting priorities. When multiple opportunities vie for limited resources, mediate based on alignment with chief aim, potential upside, and synergy with existing initiatives. Establish global subsidiaries of influence, personal brand, digital presence, community engagement. Localize message to resonate across cultures while preserving core values. Expansion of territory extends not just geographically but ideologically. Engineer redundancy systems for motivation. When primary fuel wanes, secondary reserves of discipline activate. If discipline tremors, tertiary engines of habit ensure momentum. Design layered safeguards against inertia. Chart vertical integrations of value creation, from idea extraction to implementation to service impact. Control each stage with excellence to guarantee quality and cultivate reputation. Commission bravery drills. Simulate scenarios that intimidate. Public speaking, negotiation, calculated risk-taking, and practice until fear's leverage evaporates. Preparedness disarms uncertainty. Set philanthropy quotas proportionate to success metrics. As revenue climbs, philanthropic giving scales. This hedges against the corrosive effects of self-centered accumulation and diversifies the portfolio of fulfillment. Adopt multilingual fluency and empathy. Understand dialects of joy, sorrow, and hope across diverse human experiences. This skill fosters alliances immune to cultural misunderstandings and erects bridges where others build walls. Institute sabbaticals for strategic retreat. Disconnect from day-to-day operations to survey the wider landscape of potential. Such elevated vantage points reveal routes hidden at ground level. Compile encyclopedias of lessons learned. Index them by theme. Negotiation, resilience, innovation. So wisdom is accessible on demand to avert repetition of past missteps. Appoint adversities as honorary professors. Their rigorous coursework hones resilience, critical thinking, and creativity. Graduation from each class confers credentials more valuable than degrees, proof of metal recognized universally. Diversify revenue streams of happiness. Draw joy from learning, service, relationships, and personal expression so that downturn in one sector cannot bankrupt overall fulfillment. Evaluate your board of advisors regularly. Rotate out voices whose counsel no longer aligns with your evolving vision. Invite fresh perspectives to prevent echo chambers of outdated strategy. Implement parity between aspiration and appreciation. Aspire boldly, appreciate deeply. Each breath of ambition followed by a breath of gratitude creates rhythmic harmony. Negotiate ceasefires in the wars against self-doubt. Offer terms of surrendered transformation through action. When doubt quiets, opportunity speaks louder. Upgrade to enterprise-level kindness. Scale acts of goodwill beyond personal circles into societal structures through mentorship programs, community projects, and ethical leadership models. Monitor interest rates on borrowed beliefs. When adopting external opinions, calculate the cost of conformity. Repay high-interest skepticism swiftly and invest in low-interest optimism that compounds quietly. Authorize remote work for inspirations. They may arrive during walks, showers, or midnight reveries. Provide them cloud access to your attention, capture them immediately, or delay risks attrition. Institute password-protected access to internal narratives. Only stories that empower, embolden, and ennoble receive authorization. Breaches by defeatist tales trigger immediate cybersecurity response. Engage in quarterly mergers with new perspectives. Read unfamiliar genres, travel uncharted neighborhoods of thought. Converse with those whose backgrounds diverge from yours. Each merger infuses fresh capital of insight. Assign a treasurer to allocate surplus energy into legacy projects. Books unwritten, programs unstarted, ideas unshared. These deposits mature over lifetimes, accruing compounded interest in the lives they touch. Standardize transparency audits of intention. Scrutinize motives behind each goal. Is it rooted in genuine desire or borrowed prestige? Pure intention aligns efforts with fulfillment. diluting friction that arises from incongruence. Elevate performance reviews from annual to continuous feedback loops. Incremental course corrections prevent drift and maintain true heading toward chief aim. Trademark your unique combination of talents. No competitor can replicate your precise synthesis of history, perspective, and skill. Market this differentiator as flagship offering, and from this vast command center of consciousness, observe the panorama of possibility expanding in every direction, veins of golden opportunity glinting beneath the surface, awaiting the deliberate strike of your pickaxe of purposeful action.